Crabs.
Because basically, I think the theory was it's 2 low-cost minions that if I draw them early against the matchups, fantastic. If I don't, they're 5/5s.
So you're saying Reynard's got crabs?
Yeah, I'm saying Reynard's got crabs. He's got lots of crabs.
Okay. Well, Ben looks
And
very...
he likes to put them in his decks.
Ben looks very focused.
Sorry. Ben is ill today, as far as I'm aware. So we've now got a picture of Ben.
Oh, okay. I just thought he was giving me the death stare. I
know that.
Slightly
that's a really sort of... I can't describe that stare. It's almost sensual.
I don't know how it makes me feel.
It makes me feel good.
Well, Ness is going to be playing with the Quest Rogue, and it is going to be the Murloc Paladin for Ben. Will we see the Murloc Paladin just run out of control and gain that early steam that we've not seen so far today? Of course, the Stonehill Defender suggests it is the mid-range, not the aggressive variant, which has kind of lost touch as of late.
It's lost touch. It's the way that sounds. You know, when you say you lost touch, it's like someone who's like old and you guess, you know, kind of not in touch with modern society. Oh, aggro paladin.
Poor aggro paladin.
It's lost touch with the way that the meta's gone.
It's in its retirement home with everything else.
I think this one just, you know, you talk about a control-heavy meta. Generally, aggro decks don't do particularly well into sort of heavy control-based decks. So this gives it value with the Stonehill Defender. And mid-range decks generally have been considered to do quite well into control decks. You know, you always talked about, when back in the day when mid-range combo druid was the thing, it always did well into control decks because you were playing beefy 5-6 mana minions and then you had the combo to finish people off with. So, you know, having the mid-range paladin in this meta is if you can generate the board, you get up to Tyrion, between turns 4 and 8, you are slamming down pretty hard-hitting things, and you've got the Gentle Megasaur as well if you're running the Murloc package. So it's a pretty solid deck to run as mid-range right now.
Not an insane board start for Ben, but still a sticky board that Ness has to try and deal with at some point. Does have an option, could coin up Bloodhoof Brave if he'd like. Later on, he has Whirlwind plus Sleep with the Fishes as a fantastic board clear. Ravaging Ghoul, of course, could be used as well. What would you do here?
Do you need to be worried about what's on board right now? I think, what do you get punished by? Murloc Warrior is kind of annoying.
I guess you could Ravaging Ghoul just to get rid of one of those Murlocs.
You could Ravaging Ghoul just to contest the board, knowing that you've set up then for Sleep with the Fishes in a later turn, and you always have the Whirlwind to proc a bit further. I think Ravaging Ghoul is fine, but I don't think you need to go crazy and start trying to sort of get rid of the board completely. I think Ravaging Ghoul is the best play. It contests board. Ben can't trade the 2 minions in and get a trade that's in his favor. I think that's fine. Gets rid of one of the Murlocs as well, which Gentle Megasaur means that it won't be as effective if he had that.
For Ben now, War Leader or True Silver Champion both seem like viable options. Looks like he's going to go for the True Silver Champion. Doesn't see the Murloc War Leader having too much value at the moment. Believes he can get a bigger board and play the War Leader later on.
Well, I mean, War Leader does the same thing as True Silver Champion, but you just kill off one of your minions. War Leader could be good now, for instance, because then you know that you're going to be able to trade into this Bloodhoof Brave. You're probably going to lose your 1-2 regardless, right? So you could even Valfin Inquisitor, Hero Power, and Murloc War Leader, trade your True Silver and then your 1-2 in. I think that's pretty solid.
Can't Inquisitor first, though. Because
yeah, that's true. Yes,
mana-wise. But he's already used an Inquisitor, though, so he can still generate another Murloc anyway.
I forgot that it gives him the 1 health for some reason. I thought it was dead regardless, but no, I'm just being silly.
Now that's a scarier board.
Exactly. There you go.
But I don't think it is a panic button yet for Ness. His panic button clearly being Whirlwind plus Sleep with the Fishes. Although I suppose when else... sometimes Whirlwind plus Sleep with the Fishes might not kill a whole board. If these Murlocs start to run out of control, they get too much health, Cold Light Seer comes down, and then you get an Adapt, perhaps. That can get scary.
Yeah, I think that the threat of Gentle Megasaur might be enough for him to use Whirlwind and Sleep with the Fishes and then even develop Fiery War Axe, which is what he can do this turn.
Do you even need to Sleep with the Fishes and Whirlwind? I guess you could just play Fiery War Axe.
There would still be 2 Murlocs on board with the War Leader, which is probably the most threatening thing.
Yeah.
The reason you would Whirlwind Sleep with the Fishes this turn is because there's 3 Murlocs on board.
You could just Sleep with the Fishes and leave 1.
Yeah.
Sleep with the Fishes plus Fiery War Axe, leave 1 Murloc on board, but...
The problem is if there was a Gentle Megasaur and they got Wind Fury, That's a lot of damage. He's going to go with the taunt, however, just start getting more taunts on board. But it does leave a pretty hefty board that could potentially have been devastating had we had that card in hand for Ben. He doesn't have it, so he's got to think of other options, but we'll have things like the Hydrologist to play and another Stonehill Defender, so he's got, again, more value gain coming through. Playing a little bit into Brawl, but with the Getaway Kodo means he'll get at least something back, and I believe he'll get the Vilefin Inquisitor back, because that's the first minion he played, right? Unless he trades it in now, which he actually looks like he's going to do, so he'll get the Stonehill Defender back, yeah, if there was a Brawl.
Indeed, and the Daihorn Hatchling will die and shuffle his bigger brother into the deck. Daihorn Hatchling, another card that, why I'm interested that these players have brought Priest, because obviously Priest can do very good against this Quest Rogue because of things like Shadow Word Pain that can take out Bloodhoof Braves, Daihorn Hatchlings, and they can get insane value from that card. But now for Ness, needs to decide, is this the turn?
This seems like a Ravaging Ghoul, Sleep with the Fish's turn, or Whirlwind, Sleep with the Fish's turn. I
guess Ravaging Ghoul keeps you, it means you have something on board afterwards.
Yeah.
So.
I think at this point, you're now facing 4 Murlocs. You didn't have a Gentle Megasaur next turn, but actually Gentle Megasaur could just be lethal next turn if you don't deal with it. You don't really, you could coin out the Curator, but that only contests a little bit of the board.
I think if he plays Curator, he's being greedy.
Yeah, I think so too. I think at this point, you probably just have to pull the trigger. Like, Ben has just committed a lot to board. You don't have Brawl. I think you probably have to deal with this now.
And Ness does agree. No shenanigans with Gentle Megasaur is going to happen on his watch. Of course, one secret, that will be the Getaway Kodo, and as you said, that Stonehill Defender returning to hand. So now 2 Stonehill Defenders for Ben to work with to try and generate value.
It's what you need against this type of warrior, value. You also need stuff to go wide, because once they eventually get the Ragnaros hero power, you need to be able to go wide. And obviously Paladin, naturally very good at doing that. You'll always generate a 1-1. Going to play the Curator, however, and suddenly refill his hand with plenty of options. But Ness will be able to do the same.
3 taunts into his quest. Needs to play 4 more. He's got 3 in hand as well. Ali Armorsmith, another one of those cards that I was talking about that Priest can get insane value out of. Especially if they're running the Cabal Courier as well.
This is a tough turn for Ben. Could be a double Stonehill Defender turn and then a hero power. You have the other option of just playing a Primordial Drake to get the trade with the Curator, but that means you lose your Curator as well. Or you could play an Investitor and a Stonehill Defender. Depends what you want to achieve as Ben here.
I don't know. Let's take a look at Ben. Let's have a think. What does he want to achieve right now?
I mean, he was unfazed by that Sleep with the Fishes plays. In fact, he's been unfazed by the entire game.
That's a Hearthstone hat as well.
I like the little cheeky eyebrow raise he's got going on as well. It's just like, what up, boys? Look at my Hearthstone hat. I game.
Apparently, he's a sick player.
You wanted to make that joke all day, didn't you?
Because he's ill. You get it. Right, decisions now for Ben.
Tyrion
there's a Tyrion.
I don't think that's a decision, is it?
That's an easy, quick snap pick. Of course, it is very likely to get a choice of legendary when you do play.
Class card as well.
Yeah, because it's a class card. There are several legendaries that are taunt for the Paladin.
Must have had a pretty awful choice in the second one to go with Cult Worshipper. I mean, it's a 5-mana 3/6 taunt. It's not bad, but you know, it's not a Tyrion, is it?
In comparison to Tyrion, it's awful. You're right. So now things starting to heat up in this match. The board's getting a little bit wider from Ben.
How hot is the match game?
About 22 degrees Celsius.
That's not very hot.
I mean, for England, it's quite hot.
Is it really? I think we were hitting mid-20s last week, weren't we?
Yeah, that's pretty hot for England.
But would you say that's pretty hot in general?
It's like a mild, warm breeze that you walk out and
so
you
really
feel comfortable wearing a
game's
t-shirt.
not getting that hot then, is it?
It's getting
Look,
there.
There's a blinking volcano on the board.
Did you know you can erupt that volcano with a sequence of buttons in the bottom right-hand corner? Bet you didn't know that, did you?
I didn't know that.
I'll show you later.
Oh,
I'll show you my...
I can't wait. Show me your erupting volcano later, Dan, please. Cap Pride.
Tar Creeper is being hovered over. This is actually a really awkward turn for Ness because those 1-4s are just annoying. You have to deal with them at some point.
I would guess Ness just plays taunts and plays the most mana efficient way he can. Could also, yeah, okay, could also deal with the curator too. There's no rush right now for Ness. Ben really hasn't been threatening huge amounts on board. And as a taunt warrior, if you're not threatened, you're going to get your Ragnaros hero power eventually. And by Holy Fire, you'll be crushing a lot of control matchups. Although Ben still has the opportunity to go wide. You know, you've got Infested Tauren, which he's held on to, which actually could be pretty good late game because it will soak up a Ragnaros hero power if it sort of accepts that. You've got your Spike Ridge Steed here as well. Another good card. A lot of people kind of underrated that card, I would say, when it was being, I guess, reviewed. A lot of people did say if mid-range Paladin became a thing, it would be good. Mid-range caliber Paladin has become a thing, and, well, gosh darn, it's good.
There was a lot of underrating of a lot of cards, to be honest, as it famously happens.
It happens every time, right? I think pretty much everyone said there's about 3 good cards in the entire Ungoro expansion. Yeah, we've seen quite a lot of good cards.
Tyrion is the play. Execute coming out at just the right time for Ness. But I mean, are you even happy executing this Tyrion? You're giving him a big old weapon. Yes, okay, you've got some taunts down, but if they suddenly dissipate, then that's a lot of damage that could be coming directly towards your noggin.
Got to get through taunts, though.
Interesting. Yeah, okay, I really like this. Playing the Ali Armorsmith first to get as much value as possible from the Battle Rage.
And he's generated a lot of answers now. Has double execute, feels slightly better about executing this Tyrion. He's got the Brawl in hand too to deal with wide boards, which Ben will eventually want to do, given that he's going up against this Ragnaros hero power eventually. And now has the ability to generate some high-value taunts from the Stonehill defender too. I like that play from Ness.
Well,
very good.
The drawing those cards was extremely important because Ben was very much ahead in terms of how many cards he's got in hand.
Yeah.
And the amount of answers that he could possibly have. Ness was lacking in the front of answers. He didn't have his Brawl, but now he's got that to work with as well. He'll feel a bit more comfortable in this situation.
Now Ben has to think about where he's going to go here. Obviously, Stampeding Kodo is going to get insane value right now. So Stampeding Kodo onto the 2/6 Ali Armorsmith. That's 5 mana that he works with. Deals with the 4/4 with his Ashbringer, and then he might be able to just play this Cult Worshipper as well, just to be mana efficient, get 2 minions on board at 5 mana cost apiece. You haven't wasted a drop of mana. It seemed like the pretty solid turn play there from Ben, kind of played itself out, given that not likely to get huge amounts of value. And Ali Armorsmith and Bloodhoof Brave are really the only 2 cards that you realistically want this Kodo to be hitting in the Warrior deck.
I did have our Observer just glance over and see how many cards are left for Ness as well. After drawing so many, he's down to 11, and I wonder whether it is going to come into fatigue at any point. He needs to
Could be a thing.
Start building a wall.
Ornery Direhorn seems pretty good.
And after the next taunt, he will have completed his quest as well. It's always worrying when you do complete that quest and you think, right, am I going to play this quest now? Am I going to get Sulfuras onto the board, or do I need the armor gain every single turn?
Well, this is actually the choice he probably has now, because he could have played the Ornery Direhorn, but now this way, Ness can actually complete the quest and equip Sulfuras, Hand of Ragnaros this turn if he wants to, but it does mean he can't armor up. So it's actually like he looks like he's making a decision right now. And I think it's the same decision that you're making. How valuable is this? How valuable is my armor up going to be in this matchup? Do I need to get more value out of the armor, or do I just need to start jamming Ragnaros hero powers down?
Well, in theory, he only needs to hit twice to face, right?
Yeah.
Possible to do that over 2 turns. Of course, the board is going to get a lot wider from Ben.
But there's Brawl.
But there is a Brawl. You can start making it 50-50s to win games. We've seen a lot of games over the past, well, few weeks, coming down to Sulfuras, into Die Insect, into am I going to hit face or am I going to hit the minion? Sometimes hitting the minion is better.
If you're Ben right now, you've just seen a Acolyte Pain dropped. Are you interested in actually now trying to draw as many cards for Ness as possible? Given that you mentioned it looks like he is. It looks like that is going to be a potential game plan for him. Just going to drop the double Consecrate, draw 2 more cards with this Acolyte of Pain, get rid of the entire board, and still maintain 2 minions on board, healthy as can be.
Just being able to put more damage into Ness is going to be really important. Ness down to just 15. Make that 9. And it suddenly becomes very quick because... Not with Ragnaros, okay, because I'm still kind of got that in my head. I'm still fighting him, still getting down, doing the dirty stuff. Not that dirty stuff, Keenan.
Where
Stop
are you
thinking
going with this line of conversation? What? I didn't even... I just looked at you, Dan.
Ben is 1-0 up. He's already won.
What dirty stuff can you even do with Ragnaros? He's a giant ball of flame.
Exactly. You don't want to know what kind of dirty stuff you can do with Ragnaros.
Could you, like, roll around in the mud with him?
That's a topic of conversation for another day. Now we move on to Priest versus...
And Zoth Paladin.
And Zoth Paladin. Well, okay.
And Zoth Shaman even, so I just assumed, it was the Paladin, but it's actually the Shaman.
Yeah, I saw Jade Lightning, I was like, what? So, Dragon Priest from Ben, as I said, has seen a lot of success as of late. But he's got no dragons.
Wow. He has got no dragons. The loss of the ever so wonderful Twilight Whelp, aka the Dragon Battery, kind of hit Priest a little bit. Can't play either of his Nether Spike Historians. Definitely don't want to play those as a 1-3. So Ben's just waiting desperately. Hasn't yet drawn a dragon again. Might have to play his 3-4 on board. Could even play Shadow Visions potentially, but looks like he's just going to pass once more. He really wants to play that insane value now. Doesn't even want to play a 3-4 for 3. I mean, it's still a spider tank, mate. That's not a bad minion.
It's an okay card. I'd see it rotate back in. I'd use it.
Well, Cabal Talon Priest is already a spider tank, but it just has a better effect.
True.
Just doesn't have the mech synergy, you know.
I miss mech synergy.
I miss mech synergy.
So still only totems coming down for Ness at the moment. Does have an option to coin out.
What would you coin out? The Jade Claws?
Yeah, I think that's a...
But then you can't use Jade Lightning next turn. How important could that be?
Could be pretty important.
Given that you've got the Spell Power totem on board as well.
I'd like to save that coin, looking at the curve.
Yeah, why would you need to coin out Jade Claws this turn? If you're playing a control paladin, a control shaman that's focused around Zoth, you don't really need to coin out Jade Claws. You're not going to get anything with it apart from going face. Still no dragons for Ben, unfortunately. But he can play Priest of the Feast this turn.
Do you just drop it? A 3-6?
I think you do.
It's nice on the board.
I think you do.
Alternatively, you could play Northshire Cleric into Cabal Talon Priest. But Priest of the Feast seems fine. It's something that Ness will have to deal with. He won't be as worried about it as perhaps an aggro deck would be, because the healing's not going to do anything at the moment. A, because he's at 30, but B, you're a control deck anyway. So you're going to be more than happy to leave that on board just at the moment. Alakia seems like a
good card.
Very good card to add to already a hand of very good cards for Ness.
I like Alakia. I mean, Hot Spring Guardian could be good too. I think second-rate Bruiser's all right, but you're not... I mean, maybe if you're expecting Ben to eventually go wide, but Alakia, it adds another type of finisher to your deck, especially if you are running something like Flame Tongue Totems. I don't think this deck would run... Does this deck run Flame Tongue Totems?
Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've only seen this control variant maybe once, and I cannot remember for the life of me whether a Flame Totem is involved. You've got to get rid of a lot of things to be including stuff like Cairn, like Zoth, so perhaps the Flame Tongue Totems were taken away for that reason.
Well, Ben has gone wide, and that means that there is going to be immediate value for Ness from this second-rate Bruiser, should he want it. And that'll leave him 2 mana to use the Jade Claws to maybe try and clean something up. Not that much you can clean up, though, with only a 1-1 on board, however. Also has the option of Volcano, but this probably isn't that scary to bother Volcanoing. And finally, could use Jade Lightning with that Spell Power totem on board and use his 1-1 to clean up that Priest of the Feast if he wanted to. So, a lot of options you would say for Ness this coming turn here, Dan.
Speaking of options, Ben's taking his time over this one as well. It's tough because Twilight Drake is something that you could play soon and it could have its immediate value and it could contest the board.
So it would potentially soak a Hex as well.
But Ysera is just too good. I mean, you get so much value. And if Ben has sussed that this is a control paladin, which I'm pretty sure he would have by now, especially with the Stonehill Defender coming down, Ysera could make a massive difference later on here.
Absolutely. getting a Zero Awakens, even if it gets hexed the following turn, could be super valuable to Ben. So Ness now has the choice. Looks like he's likely considering the second-rate Bruiser. There was the other option to play the Jade Lightning and trade your 1-1 in, but it looks like he's going to do basically the same thing, but using the Jade Claws to prevent any further draw. We'll leave the 3-6 on board, but with that 4-5 taunt up right now, Ness is not going to be too worried about a Priest of the Feast.
Operative could come here.
Orange cards are good, damn.
The yellow one's even better. Would you say that's yellow or orange?
I actually think that might be yellow.
I mean, you did say earlier
like,
yellow cards are good, but now you've changed it to orange. What's the reason for the color change?
I think I'm blind.
Okay.
Sorry.
Explains a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Actually.
Yeah. It's all about my life in general, actually.
Operative will literally come through. He's a secret agent.
I mean, I would almost be half tempted to take the Volcano. Because it gives you an out of sorts, right? If you're probably running Dragonfire potions, but why not just run more?
Ben disagrees.
Ben does disagree, but then I am a terrible player, so you know, I think that's fine to disagree.
That's a Devolve as well. I was wondering whether Ness would be running Devolve in this list. Could come in handy now. He's also got a Volcano, of course. It is already in his hand. Once he that option that you did leak off, just to try and clear a board.
Seems like not a bad turn to... I mean, you could Blood Mage Thanos, coin Jade Lightning, and deal with that 5-6 immediately, and then you can clean up the 3-6 as well. It's a good way to just gain complete control of the board here for Ness. Could also devolve, he is thinking about it. That definitely got a lot worse for Ben, so not a bad devolve at all for Ness.
Yeah. The Snapjaw's a little bit awkward to deal with, but it's only 2 damage across time. If you do leave it alive, and it looks like he is not going to be leaving it alive. I think what's important against Dragon Priest is removing the dragons from the board. I mean, of course, there's not really any crazy like dragon on dragon synergy, but it's about how much value the Dragonfire potion can have when it's on board. If it just absolutely obliterates your board, but then they still have a 5-6 and a 4-8 on the board, then you're going to be pretty flustered.
So, this turn for Ben, he has got plenty of options. Could potentially use another Priest of the Feast here, which could be the case. Also going to use, finally, Cabal Talon Priest to get value out of it. I was thinking of maybe using my Nether Spite there. And, you know, Ben could have considered his Nether Spite and maybe search for a Draconid Operative, and that would have been a really high value turn again. But how many cards would he have had in hand? He's got 7 in hand right now, so he would have actually just maintained 9, which would have been fine.
So, considering this is now turning into a value game and going to the late game, do we think Ness is favoured here because of Enzoth and because of reviving things like Cairn? Ysera could make the big difference, so that might be the pickup that possibly allows Ben to win this game, but it's a difficult one to call at this stage.
I actually think if you're running double Dragonfire Potion, and maybe if Ben had considered the... Ben could have considered the Volcano as well. I wonder if Ben knew it was N'Zoth Shaman, though. If he knew it was N'Zoth Shaman, he might have taken the Volcano, knowing that actually having board clear versus N'Zoth is incredibly important. But again, you can still discover more Dragonfire Potions with Shadow Visions. If he's got another one in his deck, he could probably discover another one. And you're potentially looking at 3, 4 Dragonfire Potions that you can bring out. And that's a pretty hefty amount of damage to shove down versus an N'Zoth deck. So I think realistically, both players are in a very, very solid position right now.
So I have seen some Dragon Priests running 1 copy of Inner Fire.
Yeah.
That could be a potential game winner for Ben as well. He might not even have it in his deck, but if he does, he is buffing up this Priest of the Feast to a considerable health total. And Inner Fire would make it a very scary minion.
Is this a big enough minion now to pull a Hex from it, Ness? I think that's probably the question that Ness is asking himself.
I guess is he worried about Inner Fire? He's thinking, well, it's Dragon Priest, how likely are they to be running an Inner Fire?
Exactly, you're seeing a 3-12. I mean, if anyone is clued up on what Priests are probably running right now, it's likely Ness. But at 3-12 on board, you have to ask yourself that question, and it looks like Ness has answered it. And Hex will be used, and he's going to use all of his tools available, completely dispose of Ben's board once more, and maintaining that care.
There's another Ysera as well.
Double Ysera.
And now Ben can search for more. Deathwing is massive.
That's not a bad card versus Inzoth.
I mean, he's not just massive, but it's also a massive pickup. Alexstrasza is a possibility for Ben. It's something that he'll definitely be considering. But Deathwing, if you know you're against an Inzoth Shaman, you could take it. But instead, he does value the potential 15 or whatever damage Alexstrasza can put out. Again,
maybe there's this split reasoning here. Obviously, Deathwing, incredible value versus Inzoth, but you do have to make sure that you've got rid of everything from your hand that you want to use. And it doesn't look like Ben is in the mood to completely dump his hand, especially given Dragonfire Potion is so useful. He's got double Ysera as well. Alexstrasza is the safer option, being more versatile in the sense that he doesn't have to discard what looks to be an incredibly high value hand.
Ben, not in the mood to dump his cards.
I'm glad you finished that sentence. He has been ill today, Dan. You never know.
Looking at his picture, I don't know what he is in the mood for.
Do you not?
Ness still has so much value in his hand, can I just point out. The fact he's got Defender as well to just search for more. That could be a possible Alec here. Again, I mean, this is just... There's a lot of decision-making when it comes to a matchup like this, and it's not a matchup that I don't think either of these players will be used to playing this matchup. It's not something that we've come across a lot so far over the 3 or 4 weeks there has been of Unguro, to be honest.
Do you know what feels bad, man? When your power creep card discovers the card that it power creeped over.
Feels bad, man.
It does.
So is Hot Spring Guardian the best option here?
Yeah, I mean, Tar Creeper could be considered as well. I think you probably discount Silverback completely, but I think Hot Spring Guardian's fine. Yeah, and it gives you a little bit of healing, makes you have further options in the game. Alexstrasza obviously always a possibility. Any extra healing that you can get over Alexstrasza is always good.
I'm wondering when and if Ness will even play this Volcano, to be honest. He's already got the board control.
Just before Inzoth, maybe.
It is difficult to regain board control as a Dragon Priest. Of course, the Dragonfire Potion will help a lot, but Cairn Bloodhoof really gets in the way, to be honest.
It was a mistake, as Ness said. Ben has got the option of the Primordial Drake here. We'll clear up the totems, and we'll allow him to clear up the Hot Spring Guardian as well, if he trades his 2/3 in. Or he could just slam his Sarah and say, do you have an answer to it? Or you could slam Alexstrasza and say, do you have an answer to it? I think Alexstrasza is slightly less valuable here because there are 2 taunts that you would have to get Alexstrasza through before you can connect the 8 damage to face. And at 23 life and you're only facing 7 power on board, I would be half tempted to just slam my Ysera and say, have you got another Hex, bro?
Something he's definitely considering, or he should be, is Bloodlust.
Yes, that's very true.
It's a definite possible inclusion into these type of decks. It's not entirely likely, but it's something that you have to always be worried about. But instead, it is going to be Ysera, and Ysera Awakens comes through. Devolve will also now be a second Devolve for Ness, comes into the hand. Don't think this is a good Devolve turn, though, because you don't really want to Devolve a 4/12 minion, because that's going to then turn it into an 8 mana cost minion, which could be something very scary.
Exactly, and you don't have the answer to deal with that afterwards. So while Devolve gets rid of Ysera, it actually probably generates a higher power minion on board because 8 mana is pretty volatile.
So are you more worried about what Ysera is spitting out of her backside, or are you more worried about a high power creep coming through?
What a way to describe it, my friend. Well, that's not bad. That's not bad.
That's quite scary.
Yeah, especially with two low health taunts on board.
Well played.
So the giant sandworm, which of course can continue attacking after it has attacked and killed another minion.
Yeah, and Ness is looking at it like, oh god, this is going to eat my board up, because it'll be able to eat up everything. Like, everything will get killed by this giant sandworm.
Ben looks happy about it.
I think you probably play your thing from below, right?
If you play your thing from below, then in theory, he'll only get through the taunts before it kills itself. But
yeah, well, here we go. Giant sandworm's going to do its thing. And then Ness is like, goodbye. Every single totem, and all of my low health minions too, and probably goodbye.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
That is some insane value on the giant sandworm right there.
And that was the risk that Ness took by playing that Devolve.
Yeah.
We said, what are you more scared of? In the end, that's a pretty scary minion.
Well, it single-handedly cleaned the entire board. It basically did Dragonfire Potion itself. And now he's thinking, do I trade my 8-1 into the 4-5, or do I trade it into the 1? But I think, obviously, you probably consider the taking out another 4-5 for extreme value. That was a very, very good devolve, probably for Ben there. And he gets another Ysera Awakens. You do have to be worried about what Ysera Awakens does to your own HP total, obviously.
But I mean, that's just rubbing salt in the wound. He's like, okay, so you're going to use a devolve. Well, I'm just going to play another one that I got from earlier on. Volcano will finally find some value, though, clearing up the board and dealing with that Ysera nice and easily.
But this looks like a great Alexstrasza turn.
Yeah.
Because now you even threaten lethal with Alexstrasza and double Ysera the following turn.
It's definitely something that's scary.
It's
might actually, I mean, if the Ysera, if Alexstrasza does survive after that kind of play, then might be the decision that Ben takes. Well, I mean, he's going to take any decision that involves lethal, but...
Well, if you think you play your Alexstrasza here, and then if Ness decides not to deal with it or can't deal with it and sends his minions face, you just have lethal next turn, because you want Ysera Awakens, you clean up the 5-5, go face with Alexstrasza, then another Ysera Awakens.
Or you could just play them both first, either way, because there's a dragon. Oh no, wait, no, it's not. I'm thinking Dragonfire Potion. You know what? You knew what I was thinking as well.
Yeah,
I was thinking it's a dragon.
You just did an Excoundrel. That's why I like to call the Excoundrel, my friend.
Instead, he will play Dragonfire Potion and get the value out of it.
This is the safe. You would argue this is the safer play, because obviously there is risk associated with Alexstrasza and double Ysera Awakens. Ness could somehow pull out a doozy and get you down to a HP total where you actually don't feel comfortable dealing 10 damage to yourself.
Spirit Echo, an inclusion that we have seen been included in N'Zoth Shaman, but not really going to get the value today. And this looks like a very good Alexstrasza turn now for Ben. In a game that Ness looked extremely comfortable in, has suddenly flip-reversed it like Blazing Squad, and it's looking pretty winnable by Ben.
That was a great reference.
What a song that was as well.
Mate, Blazing Squad, living my youth again.
It looks like Ben isn't even worried about this Alexstrasza. He's saying, I don't need to play it at the moment. Why don't I just gain as much board as possible? I suppose a Hex would put a thorn into his side of that plan of playing Alexstrasza into the Ysera Awakens.
I don't know, I think he had an opportunity with the double, with the Alex, and I feel like he might have been a bit too safe here. Because now that's a very good value board for Ness. You've got White Eyes, you're going to generate 2 10-10s. N'Zoth's going to bring back 2 10-10s potentially, and you obviously can now... I think N'Zoth would also work on that Jade Golem as well, so... Does it? I don't know if it works with Spirit Echo. Dan's raising his hands at me. I thought it might. Maybe it's because it's not a Death Rattle minion and it doesn't, but Dan's not willing to confirm or deny.
I don't want to do it. I want to say no, it doesn't.
Yeah,
but then
I actually feel like I have had this before, and I don't think things like Spike Grid Steed have worked with it. So maybe because it's not technically.
I'm fairly certain it's not a Death Rattle.
It's not a Death Rattle minion, yeah.
So it won't be summoned, but maybe we'll find out. Maybe it will remain to be seen. Now Alexstrasza will be put onto the board.
Well, he's got a hefty board that means that he can jam that damage to face or get through a taunt before using Alexstrasza, and he has the guaranteed lethal potentially with the Ysera Awakens. So I actually think, even with Jinyu Water Speaker, I don't know if Ness has got enough. Jinyu Water Speaker will take him back up to 21. He'll probably play White Eyes as well. Trade the 4-3 into the 4-4.
Or you could use some of these removal spells, Lightning Storm, Maelstrom Portal. If you go for a totem up first.
I think actually Ness can keep himself out of range.
I kind of like playing a totem, looking for spell damage.
And then you also have the White Eyes.
And then you have Lightning Storm. Yeah. But if you do play the totem, then you don't have necessarily the room for White Eyes if you have to resort to Lightning Storm and Maelstrom Portal.
You'd have to get...
So you want a 3 onto Alexstrasza is what you want here. 3 onto Alexstrasza, and he's feeling comfortable.
That's a 2.
2.
That's not enough.
Nope. So now he'll have to die here, to be honest.
Yeah, this is just lethal now, right?
Yep, he's going to take the 8 from xl3en. So all Ben has to do now
is figure out that double Ysera Awakens does 10
unless
damage.
this is a taunt. No, it's not a taunt.
That was actually the only way that he got out.
The only way.
But even then, he had Shadow Web Pain.
He did.
Yeah.
So Ben and his Ysera will win him the game. And Ness will be pretty frustrated, not just about the devolve, but the fact that Ysera both times brought out Ysera Awakens. And Ben takes a 2-0 lead against the Control N'Zoth Shaman. What are your thoughts on that deck after seeing it play out there? Where do you think it fits kind of into this tournament meta at the moment?
It's difficult.
It is a difficult one.
It's a difficult
one.
one. No, it's fine. Don't worry, buddy.
Okay.
I know that you sometimes like to do this. I think it's interesting that N'Zoth decks in general tend to do well against Control.
Yep.
But we're getting a lot of Paladin come back, which means a lot of Equality Consecrate. If this started to become more of a thing, you'd likely see double Equality come through. Taunt Warrior with the Brawls, double Brawl being run. You've still got, like you said, we saw there the Dragonfire Potions doing a lot of work, or could have done a lot of work down the line as well. I almost feel like I just prefer to play Jade Shaman. Just be a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more mid-range focused, because I feel like maybe Control Shaman with the N'Zoth element is kind of just worse than a lot of other Control decks. Because you've lost all your healing as well. You've lost Healing Wave. You've lost all your big board clear, elemental destruction. So yeah, I think it's just strictly potentially worse than a lot of other Control decks we have in the meta right now.
It does have Aya Black Core, so it does have
got the Jade package, right?
Even more Jade possibilities. But Ben will be going in with his final deck now, which is going to be the Taunt Warrior, the Quest Warrior, whatever you want to call it. And see if he can take this victory and go 3-0 as well to find himself in the semi-final, where he would be facing off against Ting Ting, who we also saw win 3-0 earlier.
Ben's now rotated back to his Warrior. No, that was the last series. I've seen so much Taunt Warrior, it's kind of blended into one. Dan was shaking his head at me.
Yeah, his final deck. Of course, we saw Ness lose with his Taunt Warrior. That was the confusion that I had after the short break with the stream failing. But now,
stream didn't fail, dude. You had to just battle Ragnaros. Come on.
I don't really know what happened with Twitch and all that, but Ness will get value out of this Mana Tide. No way of Ben dealing with it at the moment. Instead, he's just going to start his Taunt game and put them on the board. And there is a Discover there.
He's got a pretty
but
good...
I can't see it. Might come up soon. There we go. Yes. Go team, we're there.
He's got a pretty good curve out, Ben. He's got a 4, a 5, a coin 7, and an 8 now. 2 8s in hand as well. So
that's a lot of numbers.
Yeah, but basically what I'm saying is he can pretty quickly accelerate towards having this quest completed. The quicker you can complete this quest, the quicker you can control the board against this this Shaman.
And perhaps this is where the Shaman might gain its value from N'Zoth. So if you suddenly play N'Zoth and you put in 5 minions on the board, then it becomes very difficult for Die Insect to do any real damage.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a matchup where the N'Zoth Shaman is favoured, because it's easy, like you said, it's easy for you to go wide.
Feels weird saying it, doesn't it? Every time I say N'Zoth,
I want to say Paladin. I want to say
afterwards.
Paladin, yeah. But yeah, N'Zoth Shaman. It's probably where it's favoured. You can go wide with your totems a little bit like the Paladin can. You're going to generate a minion on board every time. And then you always have the follow-up at the late game where you just slam your N'Zoth and say, double brawl or bust.
Come at me, bro. And by that time, you want to have built scary enough boards to try and bait out
exactly
those brawls. Jabate them out.
Jabate them out. And also, with the Taunt Warrior, the taunts that you play themselves, as naturally taunts are not very good. Not very good minions. You know, they're low attack. They don't get huge board presence. They're there to defend as best they can. So taunt minions, as they are, don't particularly become... they're not particularly threatening on your turn. And now Ben, faced with the choice, probably wants to try and deal with this... Mana Tide totem, so he'll use the Ravaging Ghoul and the Fiery War Axe. There was the option to play the Ali Armorsmith to continue that curve out, but he has got a double 8. So he could play the Ali Armorsmith next turn and then double Primordial Drake with the coin. Also has the option of the Curator too.
Something that could be important for Ness in this matchup is getting a Spirit Echoes onto White Eyes, for example. If you've got 2 5-mana 10/10s in your deck that you can play later on when Die Insect is dealing 8 damage, having anything above 8 damage as a minion is always good.
Absolutely. Obviously, anything over. That's why Jade Idol does pretty well into the, or Jade Druid does pretty well into the Warrior, because you just want to try and get minions that quickly get out of the range of Die Insect as quickly as possible. Ness, pretty keen to keep control of the board completely. Could have played Aya, obviously. That was an option on 6 mana, but chose to just control as best as possible, keep that board clear for Ben. And now Ben has the thought process of just playing Ali Armorsmith and then double Primordial Drake with a coin potentially, or has the potential to coin out the Curator. This line of play would make you think that, given the state of the board, he might be thinking about a double Primordial Drake play. Is
this a good enough hex target for Ness? I'm guessing you could hex it and then you're...
I mean, are you bothered about armor generation? I guess that's the question you're asking. How bothered about armor generation are you with this warrior? Are you going to win through armor generation, or are you going to win by just going wide and eventually just having so much damage that the warrior can't compete?
I'm not sure that the hex comes out because of armor generation. I think it's more just to keep this board
pressure
control.
on. Yeah, okay, I actually see that. I do see that.
Mainly because, as I kind of touched on earlier, Ness just wants to build a threatening enough board to try and get out one of those brawls.
Yeah.
The double Drake following could be detrimental to Ness's board.
Actually, you raised an interesting point. How many really good hex targets are actually in the warrior deck? Armorsmith probably raises itself as one of the best ones. Because realistically, the warrior just plays kind of meh taunts to get to the Die Insect. And then everything else is... There's nothing hugely threatening in the warrior list.
I guess Diehorn Hatchlings with the Death Rattle.
Yeah.
If you're going to the fatigue game. But yeah, I think just getting rid of the Armorsmith, keeping the board pressure is good. And it's another decision he might have to make here. Do I do more of the same? What else am I going to be hexing? He could hex, he could then even Earth Elemental following. That would really encourage some form of brawl.
I think so.
There's no... Apart from his weapon, there's no activator for the execute next turn.
Aya also raises concerns for brawl as well, because you generate 2 extra minions on board. You don't necessarily need to trade into this Curator. If you just go wide anyway, he still has to get through the Stonehill Defender, so...
So you're saying you could just pass this turn?
You could just pass this turn.
I guess you get rid of the 1 mana minion just in case, because of whirlwind effects. I think that's fine. You're not taking him off the board.
It makes the brawl slightly more favourable for you as well, right?
Yep.
But Ben doesn't have brawl, so that's not something that he's considering.
He doesn't.
It also means by trading in here that if Primordial Drake were to come down, it does kill the Curator regardless. So what Ness has done here is said that if you do have Primordial Drake, it kills your own minion. Not going to get as much value out of it if I didn't trade in like that from Ness.
Yeah, kills your own minion and only kills my totems as well. Of course, Fiery War Axe can deal with something else.
You'd probably deal with Aya, right?
Because he's seen Spirit Echoes, yeah, I think you do. And because, of course, if Aya is on the board when you want to brawl, she's a bit of a pain.
Yeah, I think definitely you are worried about the potential Spirit Echoes with Aya. He's going to use Battle Rage here. Probably the most value he's likely to get anytime soon. And now have to see where Ben chooses to go. It's going to be Diehorn Hatchling here, playing a pretty slow game. Going to risk leaving the Aya up as well. Doesn't want to get rid of the Curator that easily. Going to force Ness to probably trade his 1/1 totem in. No Spirit Echo for Ness though, so safe for now.
Yeah, that's why I think he's holding back the White Eyes as well for that Spirit Echo.
Absolutely.
So he could Hex here again. Alternatives, play a Stonehill Defender first, see what you get. Your board is already extremely threatening. And you could find even more value from the Defender, as you always do. There's another Alakia. Seems to pop up quite often in this deck.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only Taunt class card legendary that I think there is.
And there will be the second Hex as well, so...
Actually, no, White Eyes is a Taunt, isn't it? So you could discover a lot of good stuff with Stonehill Defender, actually, in both Shaman and in Paladin. So.
Paladin as well. And this is a scary board, and even if a Brawl came out, you're still playing risky business.
Yeah, I mean, there's not great options because even if Aya dies, you're generating a 4-4. But still no roll for Ben, so we can't even consider it because we're not at that stage. Could play the Primordial Drake, coin out another Fiery War Axe. Or Primordial Drake and execute, but none of those feel good. So
what are you executing?
Yeah, exactly. None of them. None of the execute options feel fantastic.
So he's just going to have to pass.
I guess he's just setting up for another Primordial Drake. He has got 2 of them in hand after this. Could Primordial Drake coin Ravaging Ghoul or Ravaging Ghoul coin Primordial Drake, whichever way he wants to do it. So he's got potential 3 damage to all minions.
I really like Devolve. Try and make this a non-taunt. Putting Alakir on the board and going face.
Yeah, that makes it very...
I like it because you've got a Jade Lightning in your hand as well, as Thalnos. I don't know if Ness is going to go... Instead, he just wants to get rid of it. I think that's fine, because you can use Alakir as a follow-up, I guess.
It's a pretty bad 8-drop, right? So you could actually end up getting a pretty good 7-drop by devolving it. Because a 4-8 for 8 mana is terrible.
Yeah, there are good 7-drops to worry about, but it's whether they were going to be taunts is my thought process behind it. But Ness still being able to put a lot of damage into the face of Ben, whilst drawing more cards because Mana Tide Totem is still in effect. Does have Alakir as a follow-up.
Still no brawl for Ben. Has got the Dirty Rat there. Is this going to be... He's finished the Fire Plume's Heart, so has got the option to start using Die Insect, has got the option to get a weapon out. Could potentially coin out Ravaging Ghoul if you wanted to. It would only deal with the 1-1 though, so there's no real point to do that. It's a tough turn to know how to do. Do you execute? Do you execute that 4-2 because you think you have to at this point?
If he doesn't armor up, Ness could go down the line of play that I said with the Devolve. And actually he still can if this Stonehill Defender stays alive.
He's going to coin because he needs to, because I think he'll have a full hand if he doesn't.
Okay, so now you can go, you can Devolve. If it's not a taunt, you have lethal.
Yeah. Not a taunt? Not
it's
a taunt.
Not a taunt. That's game. Ness back into it and will get a win with his Enzoth Shaman. And what a way to finish it as well. Something he discovered from the Stonehill Defender. A lot of value. And Ben still with a 2-1 lead, but needs to find a win with this Quest Warrior. Now, Quest Warrior did dominate in recent tournaments at DreamHack. It did fantastically in the Conquest format. Not the Conquest format, sorry, last year standing format. But now we're in Conquest format. He just needs to get one more win with it. Just looking at the decks left for Ness, he still has his Priest and he still has his Warrior. So
there's basically a 50-50 you imagine there, and then there's whatever this Priest is going to be.
So I like playing Priest into Quest Warrior. I think you can get some real value out of it. As I said, those Shadowwood Pains could do fantastically against Bloodhoof Braves, against the Tar Creepers, against Alley Armor Smiths. There's some major targets there.
And
However,
if you've got Dragon Priest as well, you also have the follow-up of the Bookworm.
Yep, Bookworm, just something else that can deal with those targets as well. So this could be a good matchup if Ness does decide to take Priest. His alternative is to queue a Mirror here. It comes down to the option of which one do you play. Doesn't that? It's Sense Priest, though.
It's Purify, Inner Fire Priest, and he's got a pretty darn good start as well. Start getting the Ancient Watcher damage in ASAP here, as well as the coin. Coin Ancient Watcher into Purify seems like a pretty solid 1-2 for me. It's going to start putting a lot of pressure on the Warrior as well.
So something that can put a dampen on this deck is Execute.
Yeah.
Execute can really frustrate you. However, this is a really good opening for Ness.
It is indeed.
Of course, the Purify is always something that you are looking for. And he can just start putting damage in straight away. May get value out of Potion of Madness as well. If Acolyte of Pain comes down a little bit later on.
It's going to be the Tar Creeper here, you would imagine, for Ben. I was thinking, does he attack into this 4-5 with the Axe last turn? And then he could have dealt with it this turn? But I guess he was playing that game.
He's got both Razor Leafs as well.
This is a great start for the Purify Silence Priest.
So you can play a Razor Leaf now. I don't think you worry about the Tar Creeper just yet. No. You've got a following turn of silencing that the Razor Leaf if you'd like to. And you've got 2 massive old Gert minions on the board. You can follow up with a Faceless Shambler if you really want. Just, it depends how much pressure you want to put now. Is your game plan, I'm going to get a big board now and put pressure onto you?
But also you have to consider for Ben here, you see a 4-5 and a 4-8 on board and suddenly you're thinking turn 4, Defender of Argus could really, really ruin my day, which is why you're going to see the Execute come out already. Defender Vargas would have been devastating for Ben, and he realizes it. He's going to just get rid of a humongous Razor Leaf.
Have you seen Dex running Argus?
Yes, I've seen Dex running Argus.
Wow, okay, that's an interesting inclusion.
Really? I thought that people... I think it depends. Some people have started keeping it in sort of like almost like a handlock-esque.
There's a lot of variants of Silence Priest and Priest in general, and that's why it can be difficult to play against, especially on ladder. I mean, you don't really know what you're mulliganing against.
I think a lot of people have been playing Defender Vargas because it's pretty good against aggro.
Mm-hmm.
If you get your Ancient Watcher and your Humongous Razor Leaf down into Defender Vargas, you're pretty much got an absolute barrier against aggro. So, yeah, I think it depends.
Certainly an inclusion that, yeah, it is around, is a possibility.
I have seen it anyway, and not going crazy.
So Dirty Rat for Ben. No, you're definitely not going crazy. I wasn't suggesting you were wrong. I was just wondering because I hadn't seen it in any lists I've been playing. But I can understand completely why it could be included in there. It's something that would be detrimental if you were playing aggressive decks.
If the rank 10 European players are playing it, it's got to be meta, right?
I mean, at the moment, most of these players are about rank 10 because of the season reset. Dirty Rat does come down and gets his value onto the Faceless Shambler. That was a 50-50 Acolyte Pain with what Ness was hoping for. And that could prove to be vital because Faceless Shambler on a big old minion later on may have won a game for Ness.
Going to see Acolyte Pain potentially come down for Ben, but Potion of Madness will make him sad. He's just going to hold on to it for now. Maybe saying, I need to get some value on my side of the board before playing Acolyte Pain. There is the option for silence here for Ness, however. Will now eventually be able to deal with the Tar Creeper too. And then it can also heal with some value with Northshire Cleric. Again, full of options in Ness's hand at this point in time.
If he was going to silence the Razor Leaf, then he could have played the Potion of Madness first. No, he couldn't. Ignore me. That thought process is completely wrong. Or just waited, and then he could have silenced his Razor Leaf, run it into the Dirty Rat, and then Potion of Madness the Dirty Rat into the Tar Creeper just to remove the whole board comfortably.
Do you hold on to your silence right now?
I don't think there's any point now. Unless you silence in a fire it and make it an 8-8, but I don't really like that. So yeah, you're just going to hold off. Could have used that Potion of Madness for an advantage. But again, he might want to get the value out of something like an Acolyte later on. It's also very important as a finisher sometimes, because let's say you've got a 30-30 big old minion on board, but then they put down an Ali Armor Smith. Typically, yes, that would get in the way, but if you could use a Potion of Madness to get rid of it, could win you the game.
If Ben were to Acolyte Pain, Whirlwind, Sleep with the Fishes, would he deal with the entire board right now? And then have the Fiery War Axe charge and the 2/6 to trade in? I think he does.
Speak to me.
He is running out of cards, but the Sleep of the Fishes will allow him to draw again. There you go, as you said, that's the board.
And he's got Curator to fill his hand next turn. That's insane.
Yeah, this is really good for Ben now. And Ness, the frustration's growing on his face as well. And this all stems from that Dirty Rat pool, which has just put him in a slightly negative mood, as it can.
Dirty Rat.
When it doesn't go your way, Dirty Rat is one of the most frustrating cards in this
I think it's
game.
the way that people play Dirty Rat. Because if you play Dirty Rat without having something to follow up on it, then you're often saying that they potentially could have been punished. It was kind of fully wrong, but didn't. This is a 6/6 Acolyte Pain on board though, so that's not bad at all.
Wow, it's panic button really.
Yeah.
That Inner Fire you of course want to be using to generate some humongous minion. There will still be another one in the deck, and of course you have got the option to generate more spells as well.
It's actually not an easy board for Ben to deal with. He's already used a lot of his clear. He might just Primordial Drake would have been great had the heal not come through, but now he might just have to slam down the Tar Creeper and just get as many taunts on the board as possible to set up for a Primordial Drake further down the line.
So Shadow Visions, there it is. Okay, so now you can start looking, if you want, for that second Inner Fire, which would then essentially turn it into a third Inner Fire, because it doesn't draw it from the deck. It, of course, just replicates it. You've got options to draw first as well, with both of these Acolytes on board.
You can heal your Acolyte, trade into the 3/6. Don't even need to heal your Acolyte, you can do it afterwards. See what you draw first. Double Shadow Visions. Taunting him to start
Okay,
playing
so
them.
if you can find a lot of minion, a lot of health generation here, like that's another Divine Spirit powered shield as well, you can start making this a very threatening board. Start to make a beefy minion.
Well, you've got an Ancient Watcher, right? So if you get Divine Spirit here, and then you look for a Shadow Visions and get a Inner Fire.
Yeah, you could turn it into a 20-20.
Exactly, and it could be basically a one-shot kill.
But you may need that silence. Oh, wow. I was going to say you may need that silence to get through whatever on the board, but that's the second one now. So Ness still has options right and needs to make this quickly. And there's that Inner Fire. I think that's an easy decision for him to make. So depending on what happens now with Ben, there is options for Ness.
And it doesn't look like Ben has got great answers in his hands right now. Actually, Ness could be staring down the barrel of having lethal fit with this being a hand as it stands. Double silence as well to get through taunts.
And Potion of Madness, if for example, Armorsmith was played as well, and he wanted to use the silences elsewhere, depending on how many taunts that Ben does play. If Dirty Rat has a decision here, it will, of course, draw the Ancient Watcher, which could play into the hands of Ness as well.
Absolutely. I don't know when would... I mean, Dirty Rat would only be an option if you want to play early Armorsmith as well, I guess, because you really want to just get as many bodies down on board as possible.
That's going to be a lot of card draw for Ness.
Double silence in hand, remember. So depending on what Ness draws... Radiant Elemental could be pretty strong here.
Helps.
And Lyra the Sunshard helps as well.
Okay, so is there any sort of option for lethal here? You could heal up your Acolyte and make it a 5.
So you play Lyra, you play Radiant. That's 7 mana. Then you have 3 Inner Fire. You have a 1 mana Divine Spirit. You have Double Silence, which obviously will generate you more priest cards as well. There is some crazy world that you could just run down and potentially search for some sort of Lyra-based lethal here, but it's risky.
Immediate damage is only 13 with the Divine Spirit and Inner Fire option. Along with the silences. So I think Lyra first, and definitely Radiant Elemental as well. And as you said, this is when the fun stuff starts happening. This is why a lot of people have been considering it the Miracle Priest. Potion of Madness also gets a little bit of value as well and just generates more and more spells. Nothing that's going to immediately help the situation though.
No.
And you don't want to be wasting these silences in case you need them later on. And the rope is a fizzing.
It's no great spells coming from Lyra there. He's going to heal up his Acolyte. Double Silence has been used though. I think he actually just missed the heal there because he was really, really getting that thought process behind his turn done.
Might have the Battle Rage here for Ben.
I feel like this is a Battle Rage turn. If you can draw a Brawl off your Battle Rage, could potentially save your game.
If he doesn't...
Because you could Battle Rage Dirty Rat Brawl. And that could be a game saver here for Ben.
Battle Rage will draw 2. As you said, Brawl would be huge. Nothing there. Sleep with the Fishes.
That's good.
That's really good.
That's good with Ravaging Ghoul.
And with the Fiery War Axe as well, means he can deal with this whole board.
I think...
Massive pickup for Ben.
Absolutely. I mean, do you even need to... You could Ravaging Ghoul, Sleep with the Fishes, trade your 4/7 in. I think...
Massive pickup for Ben.
Absolutely. I mean, do you even need to... You could Ravaging Ghoul, Sleep with the Fishes, trade your 4/7 in, play Dirty Rat as well first with the Ravaging Ghoul. I mean, that could be insane.
If he does Dirty Rat first, it could punish him. Because, for example, if the Watcher came out, then the Watcher would survive.
Yeah, okay. He is gonna... Okay, he's taking the really safe option here, not even using the Ravaging Ghoul. And suddenly, Ness, his incredible board state, he might even overdraw. Is he going to overdraw one here as well? No, he's only got 9.
There's Power Word Shield. So, do you start this now? You've got 2 decisions. You either Ancient Watcher and you double its health after Power Word Shielding, and then you play your Faceless Shambler and you just put a big minion on the board.
So you could Ancient Watcher, Power Word Tentacles. I think that's Power Word Tentacles. And set up, but it looks like he's more interested in getting rid of this 4/2 on board and then doing that later on, especially as he's got Mind Games as well.
That's a nice juicy minion to put on board.
Exactly, that's an 8 health minion, and that's lethal for Ness next turn if there is nothing in the way for Ben. And Ben does have taunts in hand, but this is a great minion for this inner fire priest to work with.
So you heal up your Drake, I think, here, to try and play around an easy execute. You force the weapon to come in first. Talon Priest does mean that a brawl could hurt, but he's not seen a brawl yet. He knows that if a brawl was had, it probably would have seen it earlier. That isn't a brawl, though. Stonehill Defender needs to find some value.
Completes Fire Plume's heart here. The question is, what do you do with that? Depends what he draws from Stonehill Defender, I think.
No good options.
You could Cornered Sentry, potentially. Give you just another 2/6 taunt.
I mean, they are good options, I mean, but there's nothing like game-breaking there that's...
Cyclopean Horror doesn't feel great because you don't really have anything. You kind of want to pair this turn with Ali Armorsmith, don't you? So you've either got the option, I guess, of Cornered Sentry and Dirty Rat. But he definitely plays the Ali Armorsmith. Doesn't pair anything up with it, just takes the best minion. I think that he had the option.
Potion of Madness as well. That means this is going to be easy peasy lethal for Ness as well.
Yeah.
Plenty to work with. All the tools in his arsenal to finish this game off. And tie it up to 2-2. We go into a game 5. Ness looked pretty flustered, thought he was down and out, but slowly crawled his way back into the game. And now we're going to have a Warrior Mirror to finish things off here, Kinnan.
It's that 50-50. Ness finally finding his way back into this series. Ben looked so good from the start. Ness finally found the win. Those brawls really not coming out there for Ben. I mean, had he found one, it would have given him more options, helped him deal with that board that was very threatening for the Priest. But didn't find him. I mean, I think you have to say Ben cleared the board twice, basically.
Yeah, he got those sleep with the fishes, he got the tools.
He definitely had a lot of comeback there. But again, Ness just able to continuously threaten, and there weren't the answers. You needed those answers, and unfortunately, you could only get some of them from the start there for Ben.
So now we get a matchup that we've seen a lot of since Unguru. It is the Quest Warrior versus the Quest Warrior.
Buckle yourselves in. This is going to be an exciting ride.
It's going to be a big one. I mean, Dirty Rat is one of the cards that really plays a vital role in this matchup, and we have seen Dirty Rat being played on 2 by a lot of players because the value you get from bringing a taunt minion onto the board that hasn't been played by your opposition means it is not going to add to that quest, and it won't count towards the 7 taunt minions. That's why it's been so powerful in this matchup. And we'll see the mulligans for both now. Armorsmith is an inclusion for Ness. I don't know if we saw an Armorsmith on the side of Ben. So slightly different variants, unless the Armorsmith was right at the bottom of the deck, of course. But there have been a few variants of Taunt Warrior that have come through, some with just a little bit more armor generation with the shield blocks to try and put them out of the range of other decks. But it may not come into play in the mirror.
Again, really you just want to get towards your quest completion as quickly as possible. Start slamming 8 damage down, start really threatening the enemy.
I mean, there was a thing that people were saying was like, oh, if you complete the quest first, you win the game. And in some instances, yeah, it's true. But I have seen many a game where you don't complete it first, but you have more sustainability, you have more in your hand to deal with any threats, and then you just turn the game around and flip it on its head.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends what answers and threats that you have. I mean, it's like any mirror matchup. There are really key cards that come into it. Key card being the quest in this one.
Well, key cards are taunts.
Yeah,
and Ness has none of them.
Ness has no taunts, and Ben does. Ben also has the option of coining out on 4 the Direhorn Hatchling, try and keep his curve going because he's likely going to Tar Creeper this time round.
Still no taunts in the taunt race between the 2 players. Is there an argument for just playing a naked Ravaging Ghoul here?
I mean, I guess you think how likely, or how much do I want to pair that with a Sleep of the Fishes? How much am I going to want to pair that with a Execute?
Yeah, I don't think you do, because of a Fire War Axe as well could come down.
You're not likely gonna win the game through board. So I think keeping hold of it, it's fine. Ness has just got a handful of answers though, and Ben hasn't yet asked any questions. So it's just
like a really bad quiz at the moment.
Yeah. Ben now has the option to start getting some taunts down though. He's got the Tar Creeper. Does have the Acolyte of Pain too.
Acolyte just gets...
Yeah, obviously just gets dealt with, but it depends, you know, how valuable is card draw, how much do you want to play it like a classic Control Warrior matchup where you really don't want to get card draw as much as possible. I don't think this is less likely to go to fatigue than the old Control Warrior matchup because of the Die Insect hero power.
I suppose the good thing, or we could say it's a good thing, is the fact that both these players had already seen that each of them was playing Control Warrior, so it meant they didn't mulligan away their quest. If there was some sort of crazy shenanigans where they thought it might have been a Pirate Warrior, that's when you see the quest get mulliganed away, and that could have re-ruined this matchup, to be honest. Instead, it's even grounds. They both knew what was coming. And still no taunts. Ness is saying, where the chuff are my taunts? Give me one. Armorsmith not doing anything at the moment.
No, but you can start to get some free armor, I guess, if they ever try to trade into it. But no, I think you're right. It's a really terrible position for Ness to be in. Only becomes an issue if Ben starts churning out taunts turn after turn and Ness can't keep up. Looks like he's going to trade in now and get another trade in the following turn with that Fiery War Axe. But Ben can now coin out that Direhorn Hatchling. He keeps those taunts coming through, funneling that age-old meme of whoever completes the quest first. Age-old meme by about, you know, 3 weeks. Yeah, but the 3-week-old meme of whoever completes the quest first wins the game.
But it's a meme that's already become tiresome, right? Because it's not the case.
No, but in this case, I definitely think Ness will be thinking, I really do want some taunts. Because it depends on how far you fall behind, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you fall behind 3 taunts and then they complete it 3 taunts before you, that's basically 3 turns before you in a lot of cases. That's 3 turns of Dying 3s of Yord getting decimated. Ness won't be feeling great about that, because then you're just playing taunts for the sake of catching up, not playing taunts for, you know, other reasons. A lot of taunts are played just to complete the quest, but when it gets to the point where you're just playing taunts to catch up your opponent quest warrior, that feels really bad.
Ness really wants to be seeing a taunt off the top. Yeah, well, it's a taunt. He'll be happy to see it, but it's not a taunt that he can play right now.
No, there is the option here for Ness to trade in and sleep with the fishes, though, to get rid of this board.
Which I think is fine, because you've got no other alternatives right now.
I think you're right. I think it is the case where it's like you literally have no other alternatives. You could brawl and hope for the 1 in 3. Maybe that's the kind of chance you have to take to win this game, but I think just Fiery War Axing, sleep with the fishes, Armorsmith to face, armor up.
So as you said, Ness does have the answers, and Ben finally is asking the questions. The questions will be answered correctly with a sleep with the fishes. Is going to opt to play Ravaging Ghoul as well, so because of the lack of, like, well, board presence he's had so far, and how far we are into mana cost now, he knows there is going to be a possible threat every turn from Ben, and he needs to have answers to those threats, because otherwise he's just going to lose purely to board presence.
Straight off the top. Direhorn Hatchling brings in the Direhorn Matriarch.
Still no
And
taunts.
still no taunts. Still no... I mean, this almost feels like you have to brawl, because you need to just somehow... I mean, you probably don't brawl, right? You just play Fiery War Axe. Actually, none of the options are good. I'm just going to stop my... This is just a terrible turn for Ness.
Let's have a moment of silence just for Ness right
I thought that was 6 health, not 6. I just completely swapped those 2 stats over. But yeah, I mean, I think Ness is well and truly behind in this game. Taunt Warrior, in the first 6 turns of the game, has not yet picked up a taunt that he can play.
He's well and truly bamboozled.
He's bamboozled.
And yes, I said,
Oh, you don't always win if you don't.
but at
Over
this,
the last 7 weeks.
Ness is so far behind. Ness is so far behind that this quest race isn't even a race. He's not even got off the platform yet. He's still stuck there, waiting for the gun to go.
Sorry.
Whilst xl3en is 75 yards into the 100-yard sprint.
I love these athletic analogies.
He can't even deal with this minion either.
No, but I think he just makes it so that either Ben trades the Armorsmith for a Valgade, or he can kill it the following turn. But another taunt slam by Ben could come down this time. It doesn't feel like he needs to be pressured into playing a taunt every single turn, though. He is just leaps and bounds ahead. And he's just going to deal with the board state, say, you've got to use another Fiery War Axe charge to deal with my Direhorn.
You play Acolyte behind it as well, I would have thought. Well, no, okay, he values armor more. I wouldn't have minded the Acolyte behind it, because there's a possible... And there's a taunt, yes!
And finally, he can play Curator as well.
You can play Curator anyway, Ness, but he's still happy.
Which he's going to... he's going to get some taunts, probably from Curator. So
I mean, we think that Ness has actually shrunk down into his chair. That's actually how tall he is.
he just got off his chair.
He was stood up before.
Oh, I just thought he got off his chair, and that's how tall he is now.
I mean, I'm insulting him, but I mean, I'm just as short as the man, so...
You are sitting on a pillow.
I am sitting on a pillow.
And
It's
your,
comfy.
your chair is considerably raised than mine.
It's not my fault you were born to be a basketball player and you're actually 9'6".
I think 9'6" is even possible. You'd have severe health problems if you were 9'6".
Yeah, you probably would. You probably won't know what it is.
Also, I don't even know if I qualify for basketball player size. Is 6'4" high enough to be a basketball? I thought you had to be like 6'6", 6'7" to be basketball.
There's players who play basketball at 5'9". So,
really?
Yeah.
Who? Are they just really good at making shots?
Yes.
Okay,
they can't dunk.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Anyway, enough of the basketball. Can he slam dunk a Curator down on the... But no, still going?
I was just going to ask you whether you watched a lot of basketball.
I used to play basketball, which is ironic, I know, right, because of my height, but I was good at shooting threes.
You're good at shooting threes.
And speaking of shooting threes, that's an Acolyte of Pain on the board.
It's got 3 health.
It's got 3 health, and it's 3 cost.
And you can potentially draw 3 cards from it. High five! Yeah, I think I'm going to stop there.
Hashtag cringe.
As you can see, this this incredibly interesting game has brought the casting to all new heights of excellence.
The struggle is, Ness is so far behind.
Yeah.
That even he knows, even if he were to top deck taunt after taunt after taunt now, he's still struggling. Yes, okay, Curator will naturally draw on another taunt for him.
Yeah.
It will get the Drake, guaranteed.
There's more taunts now for Ness, but he is just so far behind the count. Like, Ben is now just going to likely... I mean, he would be probably silly not to slam another taunt. I don't think there's any drawback of not slamming a taunt at this point in time.
Not literally slamming his taunt,
No, but literally putting a taunt on board.
He could Bloodhoof Brave and then slam it and make it a threatening minion, but I think Ali Armorsmith is the sensible decision.
Well, here we go. 2 out of 7 for Ness. Where is Ben at? Is he 4 out of 7 now, or is he 5 out of 7? He's 4. 5. Thank you, dedicated admin, for telling me the wrong one first time round.
There's a Dirty Rat. So even if Ness had just pulled 1 extra taunt minion, it means that Ben can play the Dirty Rat if he likes, just to draw it and frustrate Ness even more.
I really wish he would, because I'm sure Ness's face will be priceless. But I think Ben...
I don't think he needs to.
He could complete the quest this turn, though, you know.
And by doing so, he can play Dirty Rat. Then are you just playing into Brawl? Are you giving your opponent a way back into the game?
Yeah, you don't need to rush it. You are just that far ahead, right? So you don't really need to rush it. Stonehill Defender.
That's a better way.
Yeah, with Bloodhoof Brave off the back of this as well is going to mean that he will complete the quest.
Should play Shield Bearer? Oh, no, okay.
Rathian. Is that draw until you draw a dragon?
Damn it, I hate it when you ask these questions.
I think it's draw until you draw a dragon.
No, it wouldn't be draw. It's draw. Okay, I don't care. There's no point even hovering over it. We can't read it.
We can't read it.
Because it's just never seen play. It's one of the. It's something like that.
Is it draw until you don't draw a dragon?
I think that makes more sense, because if you draw it until you drew a dragon, if you didn't have any dragons in your deck, you just milled yourself. And I think when it first was released, that's how everyone read it, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, it's a broken card!" But it's not a broken card, because it's just gonna basically maybe draw 1 dragon, possibly. It probably won't even see play. You're looking at me like I've just killed your cat.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it won't even see play. 3 out of 7, 4 out of 7 for Ness. And now Ben probably looking to complete the quest this time round. Please play Rathian. Please play Rathian. I just want to see.
An execute would be really good. So essentially you'll get 1 card draw, guaranteed, if you were to play it. Let's just sleep with the fishes. That's not going to help his own board, though.
Yeah, but, I mean, his board's going to trade in likely anyway, so...
So instead, do you Dirty Rat, then Sulfurous, then Die Insect?
Stonehill Defender.
Yep.
Yes, play it.
I must remain
Until you draw that isn't a dragon. Yeah, so it's the other way around. I was going to say, if it was draw until you draw a dragon, you might draw your entire deck looking for a Primordial Drake. And the execute off the top is exactly what the Doctor ordered. Would he have played it the No, because he drew a card off the Acolyte. So drew 2 cards off the Acolyte even, so maybe not even talking out of my...
Backside! He's just going to rope out now here. Ben doesn't really need to worry too much about the board. Hasn't played Sulfuras, which may have been a way to deal with the board immediately. But instead, he just keeps the board presence.
I actually... Where's Ness at? He's at 4 out of 7, or is he at 5 out of 7
4.
right now? He is at 4, so he can't actually get it this turn, but he can definitely get it next turn, so he's not actually too far behind. If he just slams 2 taunts this turn, not actually miles behind Ben. Given the way that this game started, Ben has been reluctant to actually play taunts.
It is possibly 2 die insects behind, which could prove to be
I think
detrimental.
that is potentially detrimental, but
it's not all. It's not the end of the world for Ness.
No, it's not where he was previously, which was terrible. You know, he was like 5 behind at one point, you know, desperate to play a taunt in general. But I think Ben has really held on the trigger playing his taunts.
So you've got Dirty Rat plus Brawl here, and then you've got, well, when you don't have the Die Insect, you don't have the mana for it.
Got Stonehill Defender, or you've got Sulfuras, depending on what pops out the back. Just the Tar Creeper here.
And
So
Ben, despite, and this is the thing, he's won the race, but now Ness is going to be in the same position.
He's won the race, but he's stuck on the finishing line and doesn't seem to want to get past the ribbon.
His saving grace is that Ness doesn't have many cards.
So Ness is actually Ness is actually going to be the first one to equip Sulfuras, despite the fact that he had no taunts for 6 turns of the game.
It's like the famous hare and the tortoise. Ness was the tortoise.
Ness was the tortoise.
And he got there in the end, and he still won. But he hasn't won the game.
He hasn't won the game yet. No, obviously not. But he equipped Sulfuras and used his completed quest beforehand.
But there's nothing else for him to play at the moment. Yes, okay, he's got a Brawl in hand, so he could deal with a large board from Ben, but Ben doesn't even need to play a large board.
Now, there's a slight card advantage, but that will generate another threat here, Stonehill Defender. Also absorbs a Ragnaros, Die Insect, Hero Power, and all of those look like...
Oh, I like... see, I like Direhorn, but you can't play it this turn.
Yeah, I like Bloodhoof because you can actually use Die Insect this turn, but I also like Direhorn because it's just the better value minion.
And because you, in theory, could get a Divine Shield on it, and then Die Insect hits it, it doesn't get the value, which is a decision that Ness has made, and I like it. Could slam a minion now. Oh, this is awkward. He might have to slam this this Bloodhoof Brave and take the 5 damage.
Yeah. Wants the card as well. He did have the option of not taking the 5 damage, but he wouldn't have got the cards. But he values, because his card value in hand is so low, he really needs the card draw from the slam. But like, I mean, Ness is actually ahead on board, and he has...
Head on board with 1 attack minions, though.
I mean, yeah, but he's still ahead on board, right?
He is, but then the Direhorn's going to come down now, and there's the perfect rack hit as well. This slowly snowballing out of control. If there's a Divine Shield here... No, okay, well, summon 2 1/1 plants. Just as good, to be honest, because those 1/1 plants can just help spread this board nice and wide.
Yeah, here we go. Hero Power to face again. Ness could actually win by just going face with Hero Power, remember. You know, you might say he's not controlling the board, but if he's got taunts and just starts Hero Powering face every turn, I mean, 8 damage to face is still something that Ben's not going to be able to deal with because he doesn't have... He doesn't have any armor gain, unless he's running shield block, which I think actually a lot of the I've seen a lot of taunt warriors just cut shield block and shield slam for the sleep with the fishes combo.
Well, Ness is certainly running the armor smith, so if anyone's going to be having the shield block, possibly him. So maybe that's Ness's out here. Just hit face twice with Die Insect.
I mean, he's not even that far behind on board either. I mean, he's basically exactly equal, despite there being a weapon on the side of Ben. So I think Ben might be just saying, I need the card draw from the Battle Rage. Going to use that to also then deal with the 5/4 with his face. He might even execute because he's then 1 damage. He's 1 damage off lethal.
Well, the execute will spawn 2 1/1s.
Yeah.
So he'd have to. And then I guess you hit into 1.
I guess
that's why. Ah, that's a good play. I like that he did Die Insect first because it made it a 50-50.
Oh damn! He's now going into stage where he's also threatening lethal the following turn. This has been a really close game between 2 taunt warriors here. Can Ness find an out though? He's going to need to keep something on board because of Die Insect. He's going to have to be something on board that doesn't die to a weapon because obviously Fiery War Axe is a thing. I don't know if Ness has that out. He might actually have to brawl here. But if he brawls, then there's still going to be 2 1-1s on board for Ben. I mean, this is...
Could brawl, and then you could Whirlwind, and then you could Acolyte, but then you're not getting your Die Insect in, and that's what you need to get in, because that's your only win condition, really, is hitting face twice.
I think Ness is lost. I'm struggling to see it out where, just given what we know, where Ben doesn't somehow deal with the board with either Primordial or Fiery War Axe, and then just uses power to win.
Because of Fiery War Axe, I think it's impossible for Ness now. He's going to sleep with the fishes, now play Acolyte plus Whirlwind, and just hope that there isn't any more direct damage coming out from Ben's hand. Unfortunately for him, there is... Oh, what's he got off the top? He's got an Execute?
He got a slam.
Okay, so he's still alive.
Well, he's not because of...
Oh, because Fiery War Axe.
Never mind. But he could have been alive.
No, he is still alive, but now he's dead. And Ben will take this series, a hard-fought series in the end, where he will win 3-2 despite a stunning comeback from Ness to tie it up at 2-2. Ben is our victor and will move on to the semi-final, where he is going to face off against Ting Ting. A tough game for Ness. Just wasn't getting those taunts.
So close.
But he almost brought it back.
Yeah, I mean...